This is the Kramer Custom Knives Voodoo, made by custom knife maker Kramer. He's a former military guy who has now makes his living making really awesome knives. And funny thing is, when he first started, he was making these giant survival style, what you would imagine, what you might see in a Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. And he was selling them to a lot of his military buddies, and they kept coming back saying, can you make it a little smaller? I got a lot of stuff to carry, and can you make it a little bit smaller? And now he makes these very reasonably sized little fighting knives. I'll say it. You could use this for other things, but it's optimized for fighting, which is no surprise because he is a student of Libra, the Libra fighting system. With Libra fighting, you'll see a lot of Pikal style knives with the tip down, edge in. Well, this will accommodate that style of fighting no problem, seeing as it's got a back edge and a perfectly sized and shaped handle for, well, the human hand, I guess, to grip. It is, this thing is ergonomically very, very pleasing. But also not just ergonomic for the hand, but for EDC carry, I have a lot of fixed blade knives that I love and wish I could carry, but, we can't just be strolling around with Randall-made daggers on our hips all the time. And so if you want to carry a fixed blade knife, you have to be discreet about it. And oftentimes that comes down to width of the handle, width of the blade steel, weight, also the shape of the handle. I like an aggressively shaped handle with all sorts of skull crushers and stuff like that. But when you're carrying concealed, or when you're carrying it discreetly on your body, round and short is better, especially if you're not at 4% body fat and you might have a little spare tire around the waist, or if you're sitting down in the car, you don't want something digging into your ribs. So the ergonomics of this are ideal. So this is inspired by a Persian style blade. You can see that beautifully curved, upswept blade there. To me, I call it a clip point. To me, it's like a modified Bowie, but everything to me is a modified Bowie. This back edge being sharp, this was a special request, though I see it often in the pictures on his Instagram page, sharpening that back swedge. And as I said, with the Libra fighting system, a sharpened back edge or a primary sharpened edge on the backside is, well, I don't know if it's necessary, but it's a huge tenet of that fighting system. So, but to make this an all-arounder, you sharpen that side too. All right, so this is a very thinly ground, hollow ground blade. It is very impressive how this is ground. Very, very thin and even grind on both sides, and then it comes down to a very thin behind the edge measurement. But you can feel how you can sharpen this thing for years if you need to, and have it very, I keep saying very a lot. You can have it extremely sharp for a long time and a bit of distance up this blade. This is 154 cm. There's his little logo, maker's mark. 154 cm is one of my favorite blade steels for its edge holding, ratioed with its ease of sharpening, ratioed with its how you can polish the edge nicely, and how sharp these get. And I think it's an ideal blade steel. Plus, it's very corrosion resistant. And if you're carrying this thing on your body next to your sweaty skin, especially in the summertime, you want that. Through experience, through some of the sort of garage knives I've made, and a couple of Tops knives and other things in 1095 steel, also one of my favorite steels, but not very corrosion resistant. And if you're carrying it in the summertime next to your body, you will have to take constant care of it to make sure it doesn't show that red rust. Kramer has a number of really compelling designs. One of them right now is called the Grinch, and that comes in a drop point or also in a Mac V Sog Bowie style blade with the peaks and with the sharpened swedge. And man, I really like these knives that are purpose-driven in their self-defensiness, but also would just make incredibly capable EDC tools, and that's what this is. I mean, really, you could be using this, you could use this for a lot of things. You might, if you consider this to be your everyday tool, you might want to opt for a non-sharpened swedge to keep things a little bit safer, but not me. Very nice jimping, very nice shaping of this handle, and quite thin. So let me show it off with a couple of other knives in this category. And by category, I mean mostly fixed blade knives that I like to EDC. Again, I have a number of fixed blade knives that approach it but aren't that comfortable to carry. But I have a number of them that are, and this has popped right up to the top of the list. It's very comfortable on the body. Plus, this smooth micarta just feels good. I mean, even against just the skin. And you don't get that much with too many other knives. Here it is with a Tops Rapid Strike. This I modified. I took off the tail end because it was a little bit too long, a little bit too pokey. I put hacked some grooves in there just to make it easier to draw. If you look at it in this aspect, it's slightly thicker blade stock there. But on the Rapid Strike, it is so svelte, you don't notice it's not too heavy. Now with another, this was probably the first Tops that I started EDCing a couple of summers back. This is the Felony Stop, and it is a much thicker stock if you hold them up there. I think this is 3/16, and it is a thick and a heavy boy, but I really like this knife too. Again, double-edged, but so much fatter that it's less easy to carry. You can see it's this whole scale on that side. If you got rid of it, then you'd have the same thickness as this Kramer Custom Knives Voodoo. But one thing you get with this knife that the Voodoo gives you that I love is a nicely rounded butt end of the handle, so that if it pokes into your ribs when you're driving or what have you, it's not gonna jab into you and make you uncomfortable. What might make you uncomfortable is just the weight. This is a weighty knife for its size. Next, we have this is the bedside knife. This is the Bark River Knives mini bush sax, I think it's called. Again, thin blade stock, but much thicker handle. It's nicely contoured. Don't get me wrong. I love Bark River knives. But again, this also, this is 154, so this isn't going to rust on you. But this one I've had to deal with rust on the edges because the uncoated areas, this is 1095 steel, tend to rust when they're around humidity and sweat. This is that A2 tool steel. It's pretty good with the sweat, but again, because of its thickness and because of that sort of sharp pommel, this is relegated more to bedside uses, which are none, really, unless someone breaks into my house, man. And then, yeah, I'm going to pick up that tiny little bush sax. Here is a knife. This is the Shark by Alex Steingraber. And this is not a self-defense-y knife, though. Of course, it could be used as such, and I have carried it as such. But you got that nice rounded handle, and that really is nice. I wear this differently, though. I carry this Scout style up front in front of my belt buckle. It rides really nicely like that. But the thing I like to compare these two knives are how thinly ground they are, and what incredible jobs both of these gentlemen did with this thin blade stock and then grinding it so evenly and so thinly. This is fully flat ground and is like a laser blade. Like a laser cutting through things, as is this. And then this is hollow ground. And I'm just kind of very impressed by how thinly ground these two knives are. They almost look like stable mates in a way. Love this knife, the Shark. Beautiful knife. Couple others. I'll compare this gorgeous Voodoo from Eric Kramer and Kramer Custom Knives. Eric used to make folders, and he will be back in that game soon. And they are much coveted and beautiful, beautiful things. Different than this in that they're more ornate, and a lot more engineering goes into them, of course. Here's a recent favorite, and will always be a favorite, of course. This is the Anomaly by Bastinelli Knives. This is a custom version. I had him cord wrap it. I love cord wrapping. And this is a very easy carry fixed blade knife. And this is in that Pikal style grip. I was talking about Pikal style with the edge in, tip down, that the same kind of Libra fighting that Eric does, the man who made this knife. You get the same kind of effectiveness out of it. Much smaller blade, much more specialized blade, and be careful how you draw it. If you're sitting down, I've thought about this. I haven't actually had this happen, but if you're sitting down and you have this riding in front, which is how I do it on my belt, and you have a little bit extra riding over your belt, you better be careful how you angle that sucker when you pull it out, because you could slice your belly something fierce with this. That edge in, tip down thing does take getting used to in terms of orienting your blade and knowing where the sharp and pointy part is at all times. This is another version of that. This is the Copis Bladeworks Elvia. I carry this one quite a bit too. Much thicker, but this is Ed Calderon and Copis Designs. Nice thin, also 154 cm. Great little knife, very light. You can pop this in the pocket, and then this sheath with the hook just snags on the inside of your pocket, and you just pull it out. You can be very discreet with it. I put a cord on it because I don't need to be that discreet. Two more that I'm going to compare this Kramer Voodoo with. This has really quickly become my sort of sidearm. Maybe I shouldn't call it a sidearm, but it's become the fixed blade knife that has been with me the most over the last 72 hours. Okay, let me put it that way. 72 hours, not a long time, but I've really, really fallen in love with this knife, as I did with this, and still am. This is the Blackrock Knives Monkey Thumper, a much more weighty and substantial knife, but this also carries well in scout style on the belt. This is, and I've also carried it in the waistband, it's nice for in the waistband, but sometimes this pointy part, like when I'm sitting driving, pokes into the ribs or something. So this is a little bit better for me on the belt. Great knife, also double-edged upon request. And, you can see it's thicker. Whoop. So that's how that compares. Ken Vehikite of Blackrock Knives licensed this design and another, a traditional style Tanto, with Fox Knives Italy, and they're now making this. So if you like this design, but don't care to get a custom version, you can get it from Fox Knives. Awesome knife. And then lastly, we have my much loved attention to detail mercantile fighter. This is the medium fighter, made by Douglas Esposito. He's been a guest on the show a few times. And yes, again, double-edged. And just a classy knife. This is like the classy assassin's knife. I love this thing. Nice fighter. This one I do not EDC. I rarely carry this. It's a little bit on the big side, you know. Just look at the size difference here. This does not carry as discreetly. He makes a number of smaller knives that you could easily do that with, but I like. Stupid alarm just went off on my phone, so cut it off. So anyway, yeah, this is the A2D fighter, and another stablemate of this here beautiful Kramer custom knife, Voodoo. Check him out on Instagram and look at his beautiful work. Just really exciting stuff, and very happy to have another EDC fixed blade, and this one is just so easy to carry. I have a feeling this is going to become this is going to be on high rotation here. So there you have it. Check it out, and thanks for watching.